Welcome to the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast, where our goal is to help you increase your reputation as a leader, increase your ability to influence others, and increase your ability to fully engage your team to deliver remarkable results. Hi, I'm Perry Holly, a Maxwell Leadership Facilitator and Coach.
And I'm Chris Cody, Executive Vice President with Maxwell Leadership. Welcome and thank you for joining. Just as a reminder, as we get started, if you want to learn more about the 5 levels of leadership, which is really the methodology of the basis of everything that we teach, facilitate and coach with organizations, their culture, their health around the world, you can visit maxwellleadership.com/podcast. There you can also download the Learner's Guide, and you can leave us your name and information, and we'll be back in touch with you with any questions you might have. Well, today's topic is titled, How Do Leaders Find Their Eagles? And I love this question because ever since I've known John, he's talked about leadership and he's talked about eagles and how do you find them and you know, where are they? What do they look like? And so we've had many conversations. This specific question really in the conversation that Perry's going to kind of pull out today in the content was from a listener of ours, Danny. And we're grateful, Danny, that you've given us this idea and this topic. And you asked this question about having people on your team that have a high level of impact on the rest of the team, right? Becoming contagious, right? Carrying the culture, carrying that. And where they're not just good at their job, but they make a difference with the rest of their team.
Yeah, so, thank you, Danny. And I think this might be your second question you've gotten through to us. I appreciate that. Keep on coming.
That's right.
That Danny referenced that in sports, you often hear that this is a great clubhouse guy, that they just, not just on the field what they do, but it's that how they impact the team. I thought today we could talk about some of the characteristics of these high-impact players. Some of those traits are natural giftedness, but it's also some learned behaviors that I think we can talk about there. And I think as a leader, to your point, what John would teach here is that we're really looking for, actively looking for, and promoting these types of skills and attributes. They'll actually help me as a leader as I develop my next generation of leaders. So I'm always kind of want to be aware of who are these high-impact players so that I can leverage them for the future.
That's right. And we talked about the 5 levels as the methodology as we kicked off kind of everything we built our foundation off of. Actually, John, in the 5 levels, talks about this concept of how to find your eagles. And this is something, as Perry was just talking about, you got to be very intentional about. And you have to be looking for it. And then this really becomes a skill set of individuals that is level 4 in the 5 levels of leadership, which is really around people development. And you see people that, you know, are investing in not only their leadership, but also developing others around them and on their team. And they're positively affecting that culture of development. They're doing it themselves. People see that. Raising tide raises all boats. And they're also very intentionally looking at and developing other people.
Well, I picked 8 or 9 of these attributes. There are probably more, but I mean, I wanted to make it manageable. I did place this in the Learner Guide. I've used this myself as a little spreadsheet that has, here's the name of people on my team, here are the attributes, and I'm just observing. I'm making observations of people on the team that do these. So we'll share these. I'd like to get, as a leader yourself, how do you...
Wait a minute. Did you say you're going to share your spreadsheet? And is my name on the spreadsheet that you're sharing in the Learner's Guide?
That's confidential.
It's a template.
Yeah. It's a template. I'll share the template.
That's right.
See how you rate against these characteristics. But the first 2 attributes of high-impact players are these are people that make things happen, and they see and seize opportunities. So not only are they making things happen, they're looking around for ways they can seize opportunities.
Yeah, I think this is so important. These 2 attributes is, as leaders, as people, we need to contribute, all right? And we need to make sure that we know what our KPIs are. We know that we're hitting them. We have to absolutely make sure that they're getting done. And then we got to be looking for opportunities. And so when you say those 2 attributes, I think as a leader, I think that's huge for me to be watching out for as I look for eagles. I think internally and externally. Now, let me pause just a minute on this. We've talked about this where you and I know that from a culture standpoint, it's much easier and maybe the DNA is, of the culture, there's a match there when it's internal and you're looking internal with that and those individuals, but you can be also looking externally. And as you are out and about and with different partners and vendors and just everyday life, be looking externally. As we talk about this see and seize opportunity, when I say that, or when Perry says that, or it's an attribute, a lot of times people will think about seeing and seizing an opportunity, and they automatically tie it, or maybe it's just me, to a revenue situation. Mm-hmm. But I also want you to have a bigger scope than just revenue. I want you to be looking and say, hey, are they seeing and seizing opportunities to get better, to develop themselves? Are they doing it to have conversations with certain individuals inside the organization? And are they doing it to empower other people? Maybe it's their peers. Maybe it's people on their team. So when you think about this, don't just look for leaders that are seeing and seizing opportunity that are directly tied to revenue. Yeah. While that's important, we definitely want those. It's bigger than that.
Right. Tell me, just kind of off the cuff, but when people that make things happen, that can be vague. But when you're a leader looking at your team, can you give me an example of what somebody does, or they make things happen?
Yeah, for me, it is solving problems, right? Like I see that a lot. Or there is something that came up, or it's a situation, and they, with initiative, so maybe that's it, right? The initiative word for me, to where they just take the initiative to keep the ball rolling.
There you go.
Maybe asking for forgiveness at times more than permission, but that's okay. Right, I've always had this thing where with people on the team, I'd much rather have to say whoa, versus
rather pull them back.
Let's go. So for me, it just had that initiative to keep things moving and rolling.
I like that word. I think that's good.
Yeah. Hey, podcast listeners, do you have a clear plan for growth? Achieving big results most often does not require big life changes. Small improvements over time compound into big results. Download the Maxwell Leadership app. It's the new free app where our expert guides and John Maxwell help you pace your leadership journey and set a clear plan for your own personal growth. You can also find all sorts of resources on the Maxwell Leadership app, including this podcast, information on upcoming events, and much more. Just search Maxwell Leadership in your app store and download the app today.
All right, another attribute, I think, that really kind of more specific to Danny's question about being that great clubhouse guy, that great clubhouse person, is they influence others, they add value to you, the leader, and to others, and they equip others. Like I'm putting 3 in there, influencing others, adding value to you, the leader, and to others, and equipping others.
Yeah.
Well, those are big.
Those are big.
Yeah.
And when you say those, for me, I think the way that shows up, that I know when I'm looking for this eagle and this leader, here's how it shows up to me that someone's doing that. I will hear verbal testimonies around the organization of Perry outside of his scope doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, really? Like, that's awesome. So I just kind of put that little nugget in there. I'm hearing that impact on other people around the organization. It makes me think about, just something little, right? And when people are connecting and they're adding value to other people, we just recently, our podcast team crossed over 200 episodes. And there is a cross-functional team that we work with that has no direct connection to us, but they ended up showing up one day at the office and were like, hey, man, we listened to your podcast. It was the 200th episode. We just want to say congratulations, with a card signed by the team. Just adding value to us in a way that, just something like that, right? Where those are people that are thinking a little bit differently and influencing others. The other thing is, I think how I see this show up is that, especially in my direct team, when this is happening with leaders on my team, I am receiving less questions from them on tasks, right? Like I am maybe not having to communicate as much on certain tasks, and I see the balls moving forward and things getting done. And then the last thing I'd say here that I made a note on, which I mentioned just a minute ago, is, man, when you see leaders that are doing this cross-functionally, they're eagles. Like when it's not just directly tied to their KPIs, but it's as an organizational, as a whole, or a community or whatever, be paying attention, because that is an eagle that should be on your team.
Yeah, well, I think listen to your talk. Our team does a really nice job of adding value to others. I can't tell you the number of calls I get, like Tony Lynch reaching out and saying, hey, I saw this article. It really made me think about something you were working on. And I thought, well, I never would have found that. And just having that thought to add value to me when it's not his job to do that, but he's that eagle. He's that
Yeah.
kind of guy that does that.
Yeah, I
and
love
I get
that.
so much of that. So many of our coaches and facilitators reach into the lives of each other to do that.
That's a good point.
I might have made this one number one. Is if you think about a great clubhouse person, someone you want a high impact on your team, is that they exhibit a great attitude. They hold others to a standard of having a great attitude. And they also demonstrate a unique loyalty to you and to the team. You think about how do you see loyalty? How does that show up? But attitude is very obvious. I guess you could also think of the opposite of this and demonstrate, someone with a negative attitude and the damage that does to the team. But a teammate that demonstrates disloyalty can also undermine the entire team. It's like those sinkers in the back of your boat
Yeah.
that we talk about. Tell me about attitude and loyalty.
First thing I think about when you talk about this is so one of our thought leaders, Don Yeager, wrote a book with the Major League Baseball professional catcher, David Ross. Mm-hmm. And the name of the book right now slips my mind. But what was great about it was he talked about the fact that, man, early on in his career, he was not a good locker room guy, right? He was not somebody that had a good attitude that created loyalty to the organization. And he had one of the general managers that pulled him aside, or managers, and was like, "Hey, listen, you're not a good teammate, and what you need to do is work on your attitude." And it really shook him up a little bit. And man, then since then, now he's the manager of the Chicago Cubs, and he's coaching on a daily basis, impacting these players because of the change that he made with his attitude inside that locker room. And so when I think about that, and I think it's somebody that has that type of attitude, I think it increases the morale on the team, right? I think that it helps the team cope with challenges and change, right? By the way, who has a team member or a team or an organization right now that's going through change? And then I think also it increases productivity. When you have someone that's doing that, again, we're saying, hey, what do these Eagles look like? What are the attributes? What are we looking for? I think those are the ones you got to be looking for, and those are some of the results that you'll see around the team if they have a good attitude and they're loyal to the team.
Or John Maxwell say to be about leading up, influencing up. And I'm thinking about loyalty is that you'll stand up for your leader and you'll stand in for your leader. I always thought about people on my team. I could tell they were standing up for me, and that they had my back. And you don't think about a lot of people on your team. I don't think about that. They represent us well? Do they represent me well?
That's good.
In doing that. So finally, these great clubhouse people, I think they keep commitments and they offer great ideas. So they're almost thinking like owners, that they not like some hired hand. They don't keep things to themselves. I like these because they really add value to the leader directly, and they kind of lighten your load, that you're not having to do all the thinking. It's great examples to the rest of the people on the team, but when you keep commitments with your team and you offer great ideas to the boss or to others, that's an eagle to me.
That's absolutely an eagle. And let me just comment on the two things you talked about in regards to commitment. I think even the small commitments matter. And again, don't get so big on these commitments and this and that. Like every little detail, I think as a leader, especially when these Eagles are showing up and you're looking for them, man, watch the small things, because little things lead to big things. And are they committing to the small things? And they do matter, and they build trust. The other thing about commitment is that when you keep them, it really gives the team a strong focus on going after those missions, whatever the KPIs are, whatever their commitments are, and it's building that morale in the team. A couple comments on, and then I'll wrap up for us today. A couple comments on the offering good ideas. Man, I love this, right? Because we all are creative, but we're creative differently. And I need somebody on my team to be throwing ideas out at me, and then I can work them and collaborate them. But sometimes when you ask me for a good idea, that's what you're going to get right there. There's nothing wrong with the audio. Our team has still got us connected, but you're going to get a little bit of what John calls our pregnancy pause. And as a great leader, though, you want to be looking for those that are offering you the ideas. Sometimes it might be too many, but man, if they're offering you ideas, then they are an eagle that you want to be on your team. And I thought about this too as a leader. How are you modeling that? because I was really going through this and I was saying, man, do I do a good job of this? So I wrote down a couple of things as we wrap up, just kind of to take away around good ideas, which is, hey, leaders, make sure you're being open and transparent with your ideas, even if it's a dumb idea, which leads me to my next point, which is place equal value on good and bad ideas in order to create that conversation, right? Two more. Have an open door culture to where, people can come by, and if they just have an idea, they can be like, hey, did you think about this or whatever? They don't feel like they need to set a meeting up to then, present a spreadsheet that can share an idea. And then finally, when they do bring you ideas or you see these potential leaders and these eagles giving you ideas, make sure that you then communicate and show how those ideas, once put in action, are benefiting the team or the organization, and that will create a sense of people thinking about ideas and thinking about the business and creating what you're looking for in a culture as we're looking for eagles to join our team.
Yeah, think about Michael Abershoff when he took over the ship, and he went and asked people, what do you think? What would you do? What do we need? What are we missing? And then when he got a good idea, the people were afraid to share it first because of the previous leadership. And now he said, no, I really want to hear from you. That he took those ideas and found a good one, he would implement it and then go to the loudspeaker and give credit to the sailor that suggested the idea. So I love it. You increase engagement, buy-in, all kinds of benefits for having those good ideas coming from others. And that's one thing I learned about you when we first started doing this was you said, I'm not going to come up with the ideas, but I love reacting against good ideas. Yeah. And that's been kind of our strength is that you gave me the freedom to create, and then I gave you the freedom to pile on, and which is what you do amazingly well. So having that understanding between teammates to know what is the role to do that. So
that's good.
Great stuff. And so just a reminder, if you'd like to know more about our offerings or download the leader guide for this episode or leave a question or a comment for us, I hope you'll do that. You can do that by going to maxwellleadership.com/podcast. We love hearing from you, and we're very grateful that you would spend this time with us each week. That's all today from the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast.